Jeremy Roberts on behalf of Hawke's Bay Poetry Live, a program broadcast weekly on Wednesday afternoons at 2 p.m. You can also go to the website and download a podcast. My very special guest today is C.R. Avery. Hailing from Smiths Falls, Ontario, Canada, C.R. Avery is a critically acclaimed entertainer, highly renowned for his distinctive lyrical style and one-of-a-kind vocal delivery, presenting poetry in motion with a smoothly delivered swagger. C.R. Avery serves up a spectacular fusion between spoken word, singer-songwriter, and beatbox, dosed in the mojo of Chicago blues that guarantees a captivating and uniquely breathtaking live performance experience at every show. Wow. The good news, listeners, and anyone else who might be watching, C.R. Avery is touring and performing in Aotearoa, New Zealand. So welcome to Hawke's Bay Poetry Live, C.R.
Nice to meet you, Jeremy.
You are easily one of the most experienced writers and performers I've ever had on the show, with many years on the road. Let's go right back to the beginning. Who or what turned you on to poetry and music in the first place?
Bob Dylan.
Ah. How old were you?
That's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Hip-hop would be first.
Ah, okay.
I think it was the music video. I heard parents just didn't understand. I'd say a little bit my dad's country collection. There's some great stories.
Okay.
Kenny Rogers, The Gambler. Don't Take Your Guns to Town. Lucille. Yeah, it's interesting. The country and the hip hop are both story-based music.
Sure, narrative. So how about school? Did you connect, or has your family got a tradition of performing or music?
Yes, my mother was in the classical field, singing opera. So there was a piano in the house.
So you had piano lessons?
No.
Okay.
I just didn't. My mom. It was just kind of this funny thing where my mom loved opera and there was always classical music in the house. But you're a kid, and then just hip hop kind of happened and country, and I'd look at the piano and I'd pound out some stuff, but I didn't go that route. I wish I did.
But you must have been a reader.
No, I wasn't actually.
Okay.
The opposite. And I tell people, I think that's why I was drawn to story-based music, because I didn't read for a long time. That's how it was the oral tradition. Now I got over that later, but at the beginning, that's why I loved Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
And because it was like you could see, Johnny B. Good was such a story, and especially being in the country. Do you know that the original lyric wasn't country, it was colored?
Oh.
And Chuck changed it for a bigger audience.
Sure.
Which is interesting, good and bad. But
yeah,
being in the country, and I heard country kid, maybe it wouldn't have crossed over. I don't know. But I was just recently, I realized how dirty the lyrics were for Tutti Frutti.
Little Richard.
Yeah, his when he played it, when they went to a bar during the recording session, for lunch, and he got on a piano and started doing this thing, and the place went nuts, and the songs they were recording weren't going too good. But then they were like, well, you can't record that. So they watered it down a bit so it could get on the radio.
Yeah. So, CR, when did you actually take the plunge and start writing then? Was it around the time you got into rap and hip hop and whatnot? You just thought, I'm keen?
Yeah, I had gotten this tape from my sister because there was two shows. There was the Cosby Show in a different world. And you got to remember, you got to picture, I come from like a highway town, like 600 people, you know, in the whole, and they're all farmers.
Okay.
So, and the radio was CBC, which is like our national radio, and maybe a pop station, you know, that's all there was. But on both of those shows, there was hip hop and blues and jazz. And we had a VCR. So anytime any rapping or beatboxing would happen on those shows, I would hit record on the VCR. So my sister, who was 3 years older, got tired of her brother like watching these 2 minute to a minute snippets over and over on the VCR. So she got me a Fat Boys tape for Christmas. And there was this great tune about called Protect Yourself, about buying condoms if you're going on a date. But I was 9, you know, so I changed it. I wrote my own words and started doing that. And then it just never stopped.
So that's when beatboxing really started for you.
Yeah, they were totally entwined.
Yeah. So listeners and viewers, if you don't know what beatboxing is, it's basically vocal percussion straight into the mic, imitating what CR drum sounds, all sorts of sounds, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mostly drum sounds, a little bit of the DJ scratch.
Right. Yeah, and this is a part of your live show, isn't it? Which.
Yeah, I often, when talking to music cats about that, like for me, there's country blues, which is an acoustic guitar and a slide and a singer and sometimes harmonica. And that's acoustic blues, and we all love it. And then when I went to Chicago and they plugged in the guitars and added drums and bass, to me, you know, that's the same as hip hop. The acoustic hip hop is someone beatboxing and everyone dropping poetry on top of it. And then electric hip hop is like with the DJ. It's the same as the blues. And one is you don't need anything. It's zero money. And you don't need to plug anything in. You know, you can, ciphers happen everywhere. Which is kind of a beautiful thing.
Yeah, sure. What sort of encouragement did you receive when you started doing your own thing? Like, did you try and do some early gigs or something like that, or did you?
Yeah, it was funny. You know, the beatboxing and the writing the rhymes. I was a little kid, you know, and I was living in the country, and then I moved to the city, and hip hop culture had turned very violent, and it was a bunch of suburban kids, or you know, lower income kids trying to be like they were from Brooklyn or Compton, and it wasn't attractive to me because it's like, you know, you're carrying a blade and you're stealing and you're doing all this stuff, but you don't need to. And so I made a big right turn for high school and got into other that's when I embraced folk music. And that's when I really fell in love with the harmonica and blues. But then I had this cool thing where, and then in my early, 21, where I was doing a gig with someone, backing them up on harmonica. And I just started beatboxing into the mic, some percussion.
Yeah.
And the place kind of was like, what was this? And then, you know, I was doing, because of Sonny Boy Williamson, I was doing gigs. I would do songs, just singing and kind of doing a finger snap and a stomp, like singing solo with the harmonica. And then the beatbox just started happening. And then it went from like, you know, something very old to something very now.
Yeah. So did any key figures, though? No, you pretty much a self-made artiste by the sound of it.
Not at all. Like, I mean, if there was no Dougie Fresh or the Human Beatbox and the Fat Boys, and if there was no Sonny Boy Williamson or Little Walter or James Cotton or no Lenny Bruce and no Bob Dylan and no Joni Mitchell, They literally invented a profession for me. You know,
Okay.
when you see Bob Dylan in 64 doing It's All Right Mom Only Bleeding, I mean, that's not really a song, is it? I mean, it's like an 8-minute poem.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you know, and the same with Lenny Bruce, where it's like comedians were just assholes making fun of their wives until Lenny Bruce showed up. And he made it a viable art form.
Yeah. When did you go out on the road? Like, did you, I mean, you started performing around Ontario initially, I presume.
No, because I moved west
Ah,
pretty young. So yeah, it was just one of those things where, you know, I heard KRS-One say there's nothing wrong with being a hometown prophet. So
mm,
my early years was just like I'd be in 4 different bands, and sometimes the good nights you'd be doing 3 gigs a night. Um, and it was all about taking over your town. And then when you started to be able to shoot out and play outside of your town, was wild. And then it just kind of goes from there.
yeah. And you enjoy being on the road, obviously, you wouldn't do it if you didn't.
Yeah, I'm a lucky uh, person because I don't have a stick. You know, I get to be an artist. So if for a year my whole thing is um, touring with burlesque dancers and doing costume changes and different characters,
Mhm.
um, I'm allowed to do that. And then if
Uh-huh.
the next year I want to play with a country band and really get off on the musicality
Yeah.
of interaction with other players, I get to do that for a year. And then if I want to just tour with a bunch of poets and just really lean into the words. So it's not like I never go out
Mm-mm.
having to call in songs that I'm tired of because people want to hear them. Were times like, you know, people would show up to hear me
Uh-huh.
beatbox and do spoken word, and I had a 6-piece band, and they were like, they would go, "What the hell is this shit?" You know. But and I
Yeah.
lost those people. But the cool thing is
Okay.
now that people know after doing this for 20 years, at least it's not going to be the same show they saw last year or 2 years ago. And so comedians talk about that. Like people see your shit on YouTube and they come and they want to hear those jokes,
Right.
but you've already moved on. And those people won't come, they'll go, you know. But the thing is, the truth is, they'll do that once, but they won't come the third time to hear the jokes they saw on YouTube. So you disappoint people by always doing something different. But then the
Mm.
ones that stick around will be there for your whole career because they're realizing that you're on a journey, and it's an interesting one.
It is. I can't think of anyone else who's got such strong, experience and pedigree in so many different areas. You're right. Most people, I'm a poet, so I'm going to read my poems for 20 years. You are very unique. And on your website, cravery.com, there's some great links and some examples of your videos. You've got humor, comedy, you've got dark stuff, you've got in your face beatboxing, you've got romantic piano ballads. I mean, it's wide open.
If you're in a relationship, there's the phrase that when the honeymoon period is over, and that's just a matter of life. And you can have your loved one, you lose a family member or lose their job,
Sure.
or you know, someone at the office is attractive and flirting with them. You know, in hip hop, they have the phrase a studio gangster. And a studio gangster is someone that never talks about the low side of life. Everything is like, you know, there's lots of guns and lots of girls, but never prison time. It's the same for me with art. If it's always love songs, it's like really, you know.
Yeah.
And then if always depressing tunes, it's like you never kiss someone in the rain. So there's got to be the spectrum
Oh,
of
I like it.
every,
Yeah.
and
Humanity.
that's why I love Bukowski that has
Mm.
this false reputation of harshness. It's just, the truth is, when you come across one of his love poems, it's not a con act. It's the real deal, because he showed everything in between. And you know, Dylan is great for that too. You know, there, you could easily fill up a greatest hits just with love songs, the most beautiful love songs. And then you could fill up another album of breakup songs that are just, whoa, you know, those are the ones that are going to carry you through in that moment. And then there's the political stuff.
Yeah.
If your whole thing is just politics, you're full of shit, because life isn't one thing. And you and it's like this thing, persona, and going, you know, I'm going to fill this slot in the music industry. It's not real life, and you're a studio gangster.
Yeah, no, well put. That's a very, very interesting, a whole different way of looking at creativity, really, isn't it? Obviously, you're not afraid to take risks and go into new areas, and people aren't going to come
Comedy
with
is
you.
the trickiest one, I think.
Is it?
I think so. Jeremy, if you like, you got poems, and every once in a while you come up with a poem and you read it a few times and people laugh. And you go, oh, I got a funny poem. That's nice. And that's good to have. And you know it. And you can pull it out when you need to lighten the room. But when you gotta be funny.
Yeah, I know. Well, the same poem might not, the next room of people might not laugh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
How does it work for you? You know, it seems to me like you've got a stream of muses. Are you pushing some away to focus on one area sometimes? Or do you have a whole lot of projects on the burners, and when one of them is ready, you pull them off and take it with you? Or how do you organize your creativity, CO?
There's got to be, of course, a bit of compartmentalizing when you have to focus on, and that's everything. Like the mother that goes to work and has to focus on figures and, you know, being a team player with whatever job she has, and be focused, and then come home and leave that at the office, and then be a mom, and then turn that off, and then, you know, be a lover in the evening. And if you can't do that, then everything doesn't work. But for me, I think the main thing is, there's times when I'm not inspired, and I don't feel like playing the piano, and I don't feel like painting, and I don't feel like memorizing or writing a poem. But then when the spark hits, like a bomb goes off,
right?
You just like, well, let's ride the wave until it's calm again, and I gotta paddle back to the beach and figure out what's the next thing. I'm just so excited when lightning strikes that I go hard until it's not there, because it's not like there's 1,000 lightning storms. It happens when it happens.
Sure. Yeah, you obviously don't beat yourself up if you're feeling a bit blank and really just needing to chill out. I mean, Neil Young goes and plays with his trains, doesn't he? Another great Canadian.
Yeah. And Guy Clark built guitars.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and all the young kids, like I forget his name. I think he's in a band called the Bleaches or something like that. But he started producing. Like he's the young guy that, you know, has done a bunch of Taylor Swift records. He did one, or maybe a couple for St. Vincent, and he was like, I don't want to practice. I don't want to write songs. I don't want to rehearse with the band. I don't want to tour. But instead of playing with trains and building guitar, he goes, I need a break from my music, not music, and then focusing on just producing, mucking around with sounds, and being, you know, the right hand cat for someone that, you know, has a strong vision and wants to get their songs out there, and you're not invested in the same way and can do that. I thought it was really neat, because he found his side thing, you know, where Hemingway was to go, you know, bet on the horses or watch, you know, the Tour de France. He was like, well, no, I don't need a break from art. I just need a break from my art. My best harmonica solos are always when I'm backing somebody else up.
Okay.
And that's
interesting.
Why? Because you have nothing else on your brain.
Yeah.
You're literally just chilling there. You're listening to someone get in their zone, you're listening to the words and the musicality, and then they turn and it's like, oh, it's my turn to kind of hold the stage for a second, and you haven't been doing it, like you just been soaking it in. But when you're fronting a band and you're doing all the stuff, it's hard to clear the mind and be that. And I'm trying to, because I don't like that my best solos are when I'm backing somebody up.
Interesting. I watched a very striking video of your poem called The Boxer. I guess kind of a tribute, homage, kind of a riffing thing on Charles Bukowski. What is it about him? And you did go into this a little bit, but do you think he does get a bad rap about, the booze and the women and, living in the boarding houses, and a lot of people think that's all there is to it?
I think that if I was an architect and I found another architect that was really good at their art form, then I would go deeper than the regular person. Like, what does a regular person give a shit about an architect? It's an like, and it's like, oh, I mean, I appreciate that the home has a nice structure, but as an artist, like, everything is a caricature for most people. People don't know anything about Nina Simone. It's a few phrases, or Aretha Franklin, or Miles Davis. They're literally, four phrases that, Jelly Roll Morton, arrogant, but like anybody, like same with sports figures, when you decide to go down the rabbit hole, you realize, just like the Shy Girl when you were in grade 2, there's so much more there. And I get it. If you read 2 poems, or, if you're just getting into country music and you listen to one Waylon and one Willie tune and you go, but if that's your jam and you go deep, then you find out all the stuff that, and I just think that's our humanity. It's up to you if you're just going to do the caricature or dig.
Yeah.
And that's everyone, you, me, can be written off by one sentence of a description.
Yeah.
I feel like someone like Neil Young, some people don't even know about Crazy Horse. Like for them, it's like, oh yeah, the Heart of Gold guy with the harp on the harness. Yeah. And that's fine, because everyone is, living their lives, and art is supposed to be just make people, feel something in times of robotics. So, but as practitioners in the field, like, how many people in the folk world that won't listen to hip hop because of the language, and so many hip hop heads that won't listen to country music because they think it's clan music or something. Everyone has these biases or cliches of what they think certain art forms are. People, like in my movie, there's a ballet. Someone said after seeing it, was like, I always thought his ballet is hoity-toity rich people. Like, he had never seen a ballet because he just thought it was for rich people. So I think half of the thing to be an artist is start like going, man, that's like, to go back to the beginning of our conversation. The truth is, hip hop and country music, they have more in common than anyone is giving respect to.
Yeah, no, I get that. I had this cute little quote, Bukowski, I wanted to throw at you. The 9 to 5 is one of the greatest atrocities sprung upon mankind. You give away your life to a function that doesn't interest you. Yeah, well, what do you think? You agree? The 9 to 5? Well, see, Avery was never going to do the 9 to 5.
I'm more of the Lou Reed school, where it was, I can't. Like, my brain doesn't work that way. I like a lot of artists. It's, it's like Kanye, where he says, like, you like my crazy songs, you like my crazy stage shows, and then you're surprised when you find out I'm a little mentally ill. Like, I'm crazy. But that's half your why you like me, is because when it works, it works. And I think that's the thing with art. I mean, the originality aspect is that you're doing something that isn't been done before. To go back to the studio gangster, it's like, yeah, some people play music on weekends and you know, and all that, and that's cool. Like, it is, because then you have these people that have appreciation for what you do. But then there's just, you know, some peeps that it's like, this is it. This is all, you know,
Yeah.
I can't be a bank teller. It's just
Mm.
not gonna.
No,
And
good.
I see my friends with the smart hustle. You know, they're amazing on computers, and they can make a bunch of money in 2 days
Right.
so they can live a nice lifestyle while making art. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. It's just not who I am.
Yeah, no, thanks for answering that. So this is a bit of a grand question in a way, I suppose, but what role do you think poetry or the performing arts play in the community? Why are people drawn to it? People who aren't creative themselves? Does it have a
Remember
function?
remember that Churchill quote when they were like during World War II, when they were going to cut all all money for the arts, you know, to put into the war effort,
Oh,
and Churchill said no. He goes, if we do that, what are we fighting for?
what words of wisdom, eh? Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I agree with that. So, see, yeah, it's been fantastic and very exciting to talk to you today. And I know there's going to be people grabbing tickets for your shows. You've got upcoming dates in Aotearoa. You've got 3rd of August, Rotorua, 4th of August, Hastings, 5th of August, Hamilton, 8th of August, Auckland, 9th of August, Waiheke Island, 10th of August, Wellington, 12th of August, Littleton. I mean, wow, that's a good road trip across Aotearoa.
Yeah.
In terms of getting in touch with you, the best place to go is to go to your website, maybe. What would you suggest?
I'd say listen to my music.
Well, you've got links for all of it there, eh? You're on
Yes,
YouTube,
they do.
obviously. Yeah.
But the label that is putting on the tour, and if there's any questions about where to get tickets or that type of thing, I would go get people to go to the record label.
Oh, sure. Well, we're going to be promoting your gig in Hawke's Bay, definitely. It'll be at the Common Room, and we'll also help promote you around the country, you know. So I'd say if you're out there now, listeners, grab a ticket. Go jump on YouTube, have a look at CR. Go to his website, cravery.com, and have a look.
Jeremy, will you be at the Hastings show?
Yes. Thank you
Would
very
you
much.
would you read a couple poems?
I'll do a couple of. I'd love to.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really thanks very much. Look, I tell you what, there's some incredible poets in Hawke's Bay. If you ever get to stop for longer, you'll see some remarkable people. I'm just completely blown away.
Well, I'd love to have them come out to the show and then hang out with them after the show.
Oh, I think a lot of them will turn up. Yeah, we're gonna give you a big push. I think it'll be a sellout at the Common Room. Yeah.
And then it's just really nice. It's like with everything, it's nice when the gig's over and then we head back someplace and then everyone just starts kicking verses and singing songs. I love that shit as much as the gig.
Oh, you're going to go down so well in Aotearoa. You're going to be asked to return.
Well,
Sincerely.
I have this cinematic opera called Victory on East Hastings. It's a big production. It's half movie, half live. So it's better in a little movie theater with everyone eating popcorn and stuff. So definitely next time I come, I'll bring that show.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for talking to me today. And listeners, it's something a bit different, on Hawke's Bay Poetry Live. Thank you very much, and we'll See you again soon.